Hey, and welcome to part 2 of how to create a retro style graduation announcement. In the first tutorial, we created all of our elements. We set up our document, established our background color, created all of our borders and our graphic elements. So now we're gonna put all of our type in and set it and put all of our pieces together. So this will be a print ready file. So we're gonna start with our class of type. So I'm gonna grab my type tool, and I'm just going to type in all caps, class of, and I'm going to set this to, in my character palette, I'm going to set it to Novecento, which I will leave a link at the bottom of the video for all the fonts that I'm using. So Novecento sans wide, and it's going to be set as normal, which it is, and I'm going to create the point size to be 8.25. and it's going to have tracking of 200, and it's going to be colored this charcoal color that we're using, and we're just going to drop this right in between. So I'm going to drag these out a bit. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now I'm doing class of 2018. So I'm going to type that in, and this is going to actually be set in Homestead, inline, and I'm going to set it to 53 points with a kerning of 75 or tracking of 75, and I'm going to set this also to the same color. Okay, and then I'm just going to line it up. Actually, let me move this out of the way for a second. Make sure this is centered. I'm just looking at these nodes on where they hit that guideline that I drew in the first video. And now I think my ribbon's a little small, so in order to lengthen my ribbon, I'm just gonna hold my A key on my keyboard, just hit it, and then I'm just gonna drag to select these points. I'm going to drag them out and hold shift as I begin to drag, and that'll keep it perfectly aligned, and only those points will move. So I want it to be a little bit longer than the number, and I'm just going to drop this behind it, which that looks good. Let me move this up a little bit. Okay, so now we've got, I'm going to be using this font again, so I'm just going to hold Alt, and then as I drag, hold shift, and then I'm going to type in announcing the graduation of, and this is going to be set at 11.75, and my tracking still 200. So I'm going to center this, and then I'm going to apply a warp to it. So I'm going to click on this warp tool, and it's going to be an arc, and I'm going to set the arc to 20%, and you can preview it and hit OK. Drag this down a little. Alright. And now we're going to set the name of the girl that's graduating. So I'm going to grab my type tool again and type in her name, which is Natalie. And her name is going to be set in a font called Amatic Bold, and set at 108 points, and with a color of orange. Actually, I don't think it's supposed to be, let's see what the, okay, 0 for tracking here. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to center this, and then I'm going to replicate it by holding Alt and dragging. And her last name is Smithson. And I just like them looking like they're one block, so I'm going to reduce the size by just scaling manually. So I'm going to hold shift and then just scale it down until it looks like the end of the N hits the end of the E. Okay, so that looks good. Alright, so the date that she's graduating, I'm going to grab this class of again, hold Alt, drag, shift, and we're going to type in May 13th. 2018. And this will be set at 9.5 points. And the tracking is 200, so I'm just going to center this. And then Alt-Shift from the, which is a little bit smaller at 8 points. Just going to drop this in here, it's centered, and move these dividers away from it a little. And actually, oops, we're going to move these down a little too. There we go. And now, actually, I'm going to move all these up a little. Okay, so from the Creative University, and this is going to be set in Novecento Sans Bold, and it's going to be set in 22 points, and I believe this has 0, nope, 75 for the tracking on that, and it's going to be orange. So I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool by hitting I on my keyboard, clicking my orange, and moving this right below. Centered up. Okay. And the last thing that we need to typeset is a bachelor's degree in creative freedom. And this is going to be set in that Amatic bold again. And the size of this is going to be 23.5 with a tracking of 50. And I'm just going to line this up right below it. Okay, so everything's getting kind of close to the bottom, so I'm just going to nudge everything up a little bit so that bachelor's degree isn't running into my border. Okay, so that looks really good. So to just clean my file up a little bit, I'm going to get rid of my little color blocks, and since we have all the graphic elements and we've got all the typography on one layer, just to make it a little cleaner for the user, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm just going to grab the elements that I created in the last video, which are, there's only a few of them, and I'm just going to drag them up to this layer and call this layer elements. And then I'm going to drag this below layer 1. I'm going to lock it, and I'm going to call layer 1 type, because that's what anyone who uses this file is going to need access to, is the type. They should be pretty good on where the elements are. So that concludes how to make a retro style graduation announcement in Illustrator. Thanks for watching.